Good morning. Nice to see you up, because I know you were out late last night.
Yeah, you know what? Those who say you can't do it all, I'm going to call bullshit.
Nah,
you know what?
You can't do it all when you're 63, that's for sure, man.
You can do everything that's important. This week, I've been in Indianapolis to do a content shoot for a client of ours. I have not missed a beat in the coaching calls and servicing our other clients who, I'm helping get better individually. We have also, I got to go to swim class yesterday as soon as we got back, which was fantastic. I got to be there to watch Jules graduate in his swim class. Then we got to go out last night and go to John Mayer and watch him play for 2.5 hours, which was just a really, really enjoyable experience. And so, sure, am I tired? Am I running on E a little bit? Because there's been a couple nights this week that I've only had 3 hours of sleep. Absolutely. But you know what I haven't done? Haven't really drank. I only had 2 glasses of wine last night. I didn't drink at all while I traveled. I've been consistent in the gym every day, no matter what's been happening. And I feel pretty good.
All right. So when I grow up, I want to be just like you. You are absolutely the poster child for health and happiness.
Oh, it's great.
But that concert was not without controversy. I'm glad I didn't go because it didn't start until 9:15. It's too late. Come on, man. 7 o'clock start. Let's get the hell out of here. But anyway, he goes on. This is his second night. He goes out and the night before plays all of his hits, does 2 hours. Everybody raves. And last night played none of his hits.
So did he play none of his hits? He played 3 hits last night.
In 2 hours.
Yeah, in 2 hours. Correct. So, but to be fair, the guy has 25 years of music that you can choose from. And if you are a fan of John Mayer, the way the people were around me, I would say that are not casual fans that only listen to the hits, the people that know his music, they knew the songs that were being played. I would say Gabby is a little bit above a casual fan. She knew the majority of the songs that were being played, and it was stuff from his original albums. His first 1, 2, or 3 albums was what he was playing from, and it was fantastic. I didn't know a lot of the music, and it was very, very enjoyable. So people on both sides of the fence.
I just want to leave you with this because I don't want to steal any thunder from Twan. If you go see any major well-known act and they don't play what they're known for, you're going to make some people unhappy.
Sure. But you know what? You can't make everybody happy. So he did a great job.
Well, listen to me. Here's the lesson. When somebody pays you, you got to play to them, to yourself. So anyway, all good stuff. Kelly Martin is in the house. Great to see her. She's on the East Coast this week. So great to see you. Shelby Merriweather is back in the house. Thank you, Shelby. Great to see you. I would be remiss if I did not say that it is National Coffee Day. So
I didn't even know that. National Coffee Day.
You go to your favorite chain, you will probably get a free cup of coffee after you wait online for 2 hours.
Wawa for sure is giving away free coffee. Super excited about our conversation this morning. We have Twan Russell here with us, who is the current athletic director at St. Thomas, former NFL player for multiple teams, played at the University of Miami, but we won't hold that against him. And the founder.
The best part. I know Twan so long, like from playing at the Dolphins and charity work and community work. I'm excited to see him myself.
Well, so speaking of charity work, he is the founder of the Russell Education Foundation, which I recently have joined the board of and are just doing some great, great work. So super excited about this conversation. Let's get to some wake up music. Let's get to some walk up music. And then we will have Twan in the hot seat. Well, if our energy did not get you ready this morning, that walk-up song most certainly did. Twan Russell, welcome to the Nudelberg Daily Huddle and Huddler in the Hot Seat.
Thank you guys. How you doing this morning? Just so you know, I didn't pick that song. I would tell you, whoever picked that song, and I know who picked it.
Yeah.
He said he was gonna surprise me, like
Mackie, who's definitely.
He made it seem like it's gonna feed to my soul. It's cool.
Well, let's call it what it is. That song represents underdog, and you have fought the odds your whole life, your whole career. Tell everybody, because what a fabulous story.
Yeah, great segue.
Nice job there, Steve.
Tell us about your background. Tell us about where you come from, how you ended up at the University of Miami, a little bit about your playing career and what you're doing now.
So, I'm from here, born and raised South Florida guy. I mean, elementary school, middle school. I'm one of the few guys that have played Little League, high school, college, and the NFL all in the same place. It's only been a couple. I think Lamar Thomas, Vernon Carey, and maybe a couple more, but it's only been a few guys that actually do it. But I'm a hometown kid. I'm born and raised here, and I love it. I chose University of Miami in 1992 when I was coming out of school. I thought I was going to Notre Dame. My dad coached at University of Miami. With some controversy. I was like, I want to kind of, carve my own destiny and go my own direction. So I love University of Miami, but I didn't want to go because my dad was there, and I kind of wanted to do my own thing. Yeah. I get on the plane, go to Notre Dame. We're flying to South Bend, and it was like a little two propeller crop plane. That thing started rocking side to side, and I'm squeezing the little lady next to me because I'm scared. First time I've ever been on a plane. Wow. That plane lands, and they told me to wear a jacket. So back then I had, if that, I had a little jacket on. I get out. Man, my foot went about 18 inches into the snow. I said, I'm not staying here. I mean, from the moment I got off the plane, first of all, if Notre Dame was smart, they would not bring anybody up in the fall. You got to come up in the spring or the summer or something. Right. I get off that plane. I said, I can't stay here. I was freezing. They loaned me a jacket. I borrowed it. I think the guy that took me out, he gave me a jacket. I held it for the whole weekend. It was the worst experience I ever had in my life. And then Lou Holtz, he all of a sudden kept saying, "Yeah, we think you can come in and be a great safety coach." I play linebacker, but he said, "Yeah, I know you play linebacker." He came back, "Hey, you know what? Our safety's transferring. He's gonna go to the league this year, and you can come in and play safety." I said, "Coach, I play linebacker," and that was it. Next week, Notre Dame. Committed to the University of Miami.
And what was it like playing at Miami at that time?
It was wild. When I came in 92, they had just won the national championship, and they had the same team coming back. So in that 92 season, we actually went to the Sugar Bowl, and we lost against Alabama, which was traumatic for us. So, and then the following year, I think we lost 2 games. And then my third year, we were poised to win the national championship, and we lost to Arizona in the bowl game. We could have actually backed into the national championship. So I was kind of in that in-between stage where Miami was still Miami that you knew, but we transitioned. We transitioned from Erickson to Dave, not Dave Wannstedt, but other one, his
Jimmy Johnson.
No, not Jimmy Johnson.
Oh no, Jimmy was before. Then it was Erickson, and then it was
can't think of his name. Bush Davis, Bush Davis. So we transitioned to Bush Davis, and Bush Davis came in, and we had to reset that year. We didn't have a good year. We changed offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, changed all these different things. And then my last year, we ended up having an okay season. So there was this transition, and a few years later, they won a national championship. I think it was in 2001. So I was kind of in that middle stage, but it was a great time. It was a great time to be a King. It was a great time to be at the university.
Can you talk to people a little bit about the difficulty of being a college student, a young football player that you have aspirations of going to the NFL? you know that your future kind of rides on the success of the team and your individual performance. And you go through major organizational change where you don't just get a new head coach, you get an entirely new staff. And so to deal with that in the short time frame that you have to, I don't think most people who don't understand the business of college football really understand how difficult that is. Can you talk about what that was like during your life as you're going through this transition in a whole new organization?
People don't understand what transition means. I don't care if it's football, if it's business. I don't care if it's a kid transferring from one high school to another. There's a reset that happens in your life. Until your life becomes comfortable, your aspirations and all the things that you want to do won't happen. For instance, in the high school world, people think, oh, a kid's going to transfer from one high school to another and still be the same kid. Well, when that kid transfers, he has to figure out where his locker is, how to get to class, what's the new schedule, how do he do his homework. He has to meet new teachers, he has to understand the rhythm of the school. And then once he figures all of that out, now he has to say, okay, I have a new offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. I have new teammates. I got to figure out how I fit in the plan. Do I have a new rhythm, a new character development structure that I have to fit into? And then, I got to make a tackle. That's a lot of stuff to do. And the same thing happens if I'm in the business world or if I'm in college. Well, when you change head coaches, you literally change the ethos of your team. You literally trade one philosophy for another philosophy. And Butch came in with a very different philosophy than Erickson. And I think the school wanted to reset because we were still holding on to the old University of Miami. And Butch had his first year, he had a challenge. He was a disruptor. So he had to make some hard decisions that to put us in a bind. And we were on probation that first year too. Right. So, you had a lot of things going on, but he had a long-term vision. And he knew that in the short term, he had to make some hard decisions that ultimately allowed him to win that championship that he had in 2001. So my last couple of years were part of the reset. But I do believe my senior year was a transformation that allowed those years to happen because we were like, hey, guys, we need to leave here winning. We need to leave here and do things the right way. I think Marlon Barnes was murdered that year as well. And when you look at the challenges that we had and all the things that went on, for us to still finish that last year at the CarQuest Bowl with a winning record and beating Virginia, that was a nice way to kind of transition into the University of Miami winning the national championship.
So how did you leverage that into your NFL career, which you played for 3 different teams, and then into your professional career post-football? How have you leveraged some of that transition and understanding the importance of that as you've made all of these transitions?
One thing I've learned about transition is, number one, you have to make sure your living and off the field situation is set as quick as possible. So for instance, when I transitioned from Washington to Miami, very quickly I said, okay, we got to go. Let's figure out, babe, task list. You got house, you got this, I got to do these things. I wanted to make sure everything was in place so that when I came down to Miami, I can only focus on football. And me and my wife have these conversations. Babe, I'm gonna let you know, I'm leaving the office at 9:00. I'm not gonna be able to do certain things. You're gonna be able to handle it. So that having that open conversation and setting expectations of where I'm gonna be at in the house and how I'm gonna work allows her to put things in place. Okay, we had to get somebody to help us with the kids. We needed somebody to help with the house. She was finishing up her she was at transition to be a realtor. So there are some things that she wanted to do. So how do you make sure all of our plans were being taken care of? Because I couldn't go into it and say, okay, it was just about me. She had goals and aspirations as well. So we had these very hard, difficult conversations before I even moved a dresser or a bed to Miami. We were like, this is what it's going to look like. And I do the same thing now. When I transitioned from the Dolphins to St. Thomas, I said, babe, the first 3 years, I'm going to live there. I said, I need you to understand, I'm going in, there's a reset. I'm coming after a gentleman that's been there for 50 years and has done it a certain way. I'm different than him. There's going to be a transition. I'm not going to be around. It's going to be hard. And to be able to have that open communication with my wife, I need to make sure all those things were taken care of, because if I didn't, everything else was going to fail. If it fails with my wife and my kids in my home, everything else is going to suffer. And I already knew that. I made sure that the transition part was taken care of. And I learned that from Butch. I mean, Butch came in and he lived at that place. He reset. He told us what we're going to do, how we're going to do, and who we're going to be before he even start putting things in place. So that's something I always learned, to make sure that when I'm transitioning, make sure everybody around me knows, because sometimes you can describe where you're going before you can actually put things in place. And if you tell them over and over and over, when it happens, no one's shocked. So I would just be saying, hey, this is what we're doing. This is where we're going, and repeat it over and over and over. So when things start to change and when things start to move, people weren't surprised, because change is the number one disruptor in any organization. If you don't manage change well, you're going to fail.
So last week we had Coach Twan on, and if you look at that whole coaching tree, he's still very friendly with Butch and Jimmy and all of the guys that came out of that coaching tree. They were very process driven about taking care of their players and knowing. You mentioned something about stepping into a role that had already been identified for 50 years. There's lots of those case studies. Jay Fiedler taking over for Dan Marino, Aaron Rodgers taking over for, Brett Favre. Talk to us about some of those inherent challenges that happen when it's locked and loaded. And I think the worst words in business are, well, that's just the way we do it around here. You must have felt that.
And let me give some context for everybody around this. Like, he's not just following somebody who was in the job for 50 years. This guy is a Hall of Famer. This guy has won countless championships. He is a South Florida football legend. And when you talk about differences, the differences are stark. It's very different. So to step into that kind of role is significant. I'm really excited to hear you talk about this, Twan.
Coach Smith is a legend among legends. And when you look at South Florida, you're talking about gentlemen, when they said who are the top 10 most influential people in South Florida in sports, they're mentioning, head coaches and presidents of NFL, Major League Baseball, and basketball teams. And then you have George Smith, who's a high school football coach, who at the time was more influential than the president of the FHSA for the state of Florida Athletic Association, who made phone calls and could be disruptive in every aspect of sports in the state, regardless of professional college or high school. So you're talking about someone that had done it and placed so many people in the business world and sports that he was represented. He was well respected. So there have been several instances where NFL teams would call him and say, hey, we're about to hire this guy. What do you think? So now you're trying to walk into a room with a guy that's like that. The first thing I said when I talked to our team, I said, number one, I am not George Smith. I am not trying to be George Smith. In fact, his shoes are so big that I'm not walking in his steps. I said, I'm going to do me. And doing me might be a little bit different. And, and I was like, it's gonna, I knew it. I knew that it's gonna be very different, because I'm more of a communicator, collaborative type of person. I like to know what's in the room. I may go with it or not, but I like to know what everybody's opinion is, because sometimes their opinion is better than yours. I learned that from my wife. So I'm a very different leader, and George was very successful in the way that he led, and I had to literally help people understand that our rhythm's going to be a little bit different now. The way we serve our kids are going to be different now. Not that what George did was wrong, because what he did was amazing. I'm incapable of doing what he did, and I can only be authentic to me and my leadership style. And one of my favorite books is First 90 Days, which I'm sure you guys have heard of. And it really talks about understanding the environment that you go into. And my first really 6 months was disproving everything I thought. Like, I thought I was walking into one situation, realized I walked into another situation, and then I had to unpack it, digest it, and figure out how I navigated, to get out of it. And not that it was a bad situation, but it was just very different than my leadership style. So it took me some time to manage it and figure out how it is. And once I understood the culture of St. Thomas, then I was able to navigate and move the chess pieces to get to where I need to be, because I thought I would be able to make change in months. Really, around here, we're like a big cruise ship, and it takes years to move. We don't just turn very carefully. So if I have an initiative that I want, I may have an 18-month plan, and that plan has to include, okay, who do I need to meet? Who do I need to take out to lunch? Who do I need to kind of get to know and understand their process, and what other things around me may affect my plan from happening? And it takes so long because you have to unearth the things you don't know. It just takes time. So I'm 3 years in, and I'm just starting to implement the things that I wanted to do in year one. I had this great, 6-month, 12-month plan and 3-year plan. I'm just getting into my first year plan, because it took me a couple of years to just understand the dynamic of St. Thomas, because it's complex. You're talking a teaching environment, and you're talking about a band environment and athletic environment and clubs, and how all these things work with all the traditions that we have. So you may have a great idea, but if you don't know how it fits and how it works with everything else, it's going to die on your sheet of paper. So and what's the beauty of it, all these things work really well together. And what I may have is fine and good, but I'm like the body. Sometimes the body attacks good things. So I had to slow down and gradually introduce things so people can get used to it, to see how it fits into all the things that happen around here, because this place has been going on since 1936, and their traditions are strong. And their
Mark,
traditions.
why don't you switch gears and talk about what you're doing?
As if that's not enough work for you, right? as if all that you're doing at St. Thomas is not enough work. You also have the Russell Education Foundation, and we only have a few minutes left here, so I want to make sure we get the opportunity to introduce what the Russell Education Foundation is to everybody, get to talk about the pickle event that's coming up, and ways that people can get involved with us and understand how we're impacting the community.
So our foundation at its core is a literacy foundation. It originally started off as a reading program to teach kids how to read. Our motto was, if we can teach kids how to read, they can read for the rest of their lives and be continuous learners. Now we're a literacy foundation. We want kids to be literate in every aspect of school, literate in math, English, technology, literate in everything that they need to accomplish to be successful. We have 9 centers. We probably a little under 900 students, 50 teachers, and their number one goal is to educate these kids. And our weapon of choice is not pens and paper, it's love, because we believe we can connect with our kids and get them to trust our teachers. They'll hang on every single word. So when they're teaching them, they're going to be able to process that information and digest it and be able to apply it into their life. And that's how we believe that we transform the world through education.
It's really, really well said, Russell. And I just think that as you talk about that, people don't really understand the problem at the root of where people are at when they're learning to read before 3rd grade. And that's really, I think, when you talk about how you change people's lives by making sure that they stay on track to learn how to read and have the skill sets necessary to empower themselves to be successful. That is the thing that made me jump on board with the foundation. When Mackie approached me with the opportunity and I got to sit down with you, and I said, well, what problem are we really solving here? I understand that we're trying to help people learn to read, but then we broke down the problem and said, look, the kids aren't getting what they need. And as soon as they fall behind, the amount of setbacks that happen because of that after is astronomical. So when you can get ahead of it and ensure that these kids have what they need to be successful, it's unbelievable. So we're going to be celebrating at a great pickleball event coming up in a few months. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports here in the country, and it's when you talk about passionate people that play pickleball are extremely passionate.
Yeah.
So we don't have a tournament down here, and we partnered up with Diadem, and they're extremely excited. What we're going to do is we're going to have couple hundred people come in, and they're going to play a tournament. We're going to teach the game. We're going to have our kids there. And the goal is to raise some money for our program. I mean, we tell people we're able to chop $1 up better than anybody else in the nonprofit world. And we can do more with that. So, the goal is if we can raise $60,000, $70,000 in this event, it can really help us add another center for the year, serve another 200 kids.
Make sure you hit up that guy on the screen because he's got the purse strings, man. He approves all the stuff. So hit
it. And so I hope everybody, we'll get the information to everybody about the pickleball event, but that's not the only way to get involved, right? Like you and I talked about this in the very beginning. Time, talent, and treasure. It's great if you can give a monetary donation. It's great if you can buy, entry into the pickleball game or be a sponsor of the pickleball event. But maybe that's not your way to get involved with us. Maybe your way to get involved is to go to a center and be a reader. Maybe you can get involved in giving your time and maybe some of your talent in the way that we can help set up these kids of the Russell Education Foundation and help them be successful. So if people want to get involved, obviously they can reach out to me. What are some other things they can do if they want to help somehow, some way?
I mean, the simplest way, you can follow us on social media. I mean, the better we can build up our social media presence, that helps us. You can definitely volunteer your time at an event that we have. You go to our website at Russell Education Foundation, and you can support. I tell people, if I can get $5 from everybody in the world, I can transform the world. And I had someone tell me, it's like, hey, I don't really have the resources to do it. Well, we have an older lady who's retired. She gives us $5 of her Social Security. She sends it every single month. And there have been a couple times where we've been tight on resources in our foundation. That check would come in. I'm like, man, we got to figure this out. This lady, I mean, she's putting her Social Security check on the line for us, giving us $5 a month. And that has motivated us to make it for 25 years, because during the pandemic, there are some lean times. There are some very difficult times. But then we were reminded that we cannot fail. Failure is not an option for us because there's people's lives on the line. So we just ask people to come and help in any way possible. Small ways help. Don't underestimate your small effort. Don't underestimate getting involved with your hands and your talent, your time, your treasure is very important. Whatever you can do, we encourage you to come out, because I don't know if we're serving the President of the United States. I have no idea if the person is going to save my life when I'm, 110 years old. Will they have that cure to allow me to go to 111? I have no idea. I just know that these kids that we're serving are valuable and they're important, and God has given us an opportunity to be able to serve them for a reason. And we just need people to walk with us to help us serve them.
Twan, I am so incredibly grateful, number one, for our relationship, the fact that you knew my dad prior, and then I had the opportunity to meet you. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be a part of your organization and serve the kids of South Florida the way that we do. Exciting and pushing everybody to reach out to us and get involved with us somehow, some way. Good luck to you tonight, sir. I know that you guys have a football game that you are preparing for, and I suppose that I will wish you good luck to the Canes up until we meet each other.
What was that, November 11th?
November 11th. Circle it on the calendar. You and I will have to get.
We got 100 push-ups on it.
I like it. Put it on the line. I like it. Twan, thank you so much for being a guest on the Nudelberg Daily Huddle. Thank you for being a Huddle in the hot seat. Everybody have a great weekend. We will see you on Monday. Let's get down to business.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get